The stars were silent, but they told a story of terror. Captain J-Hook studied the holographic map, his fingers tracing the dark patches that marked entire star systems now gone dark. The Kralmor had struck again. Massive warships hung in the projection like predatory shadows. Each one was larger than most planetary cities, their hull designs sharp and menacing. They moved through space with a cold precision that spoke of centuries of conquered worlds and crushed civilizations. The Kralmor were not just another aggressive species. They were systematic destroyers, a race that saw other intelligent life as nothing more than resources to be consumed or obstacles to be eliminated. Their technology was generations ahead of most galactic civilizations. Plasma cannons that could crack planetary crusts, shield systems that could absorb entire fleets' worth of energy weapons, adaptive combat algorithms that learned and predicted enemy movements faster than any biological brain could think. J-Hook remembered the reports. In the last 30 standard galactic cycles, the Kralmor had reduced 17 advanced civilizations to scattered refugee populations. Entire species reduced to small colonies living on borrowed time and borrowed worlds. The Xanthari, once masters of quantum engineering, now existed as less than 1 million survivors spread across 3 refugee ships. The crystal minds of the Corella, who had mapped entire dimensional networks, were now nothing more than historical records. His communication console blinked. A new report from the Galactic Intelligence Network. Another system had gone silent. The Mira colonies, over 3 billion lives, simply vanished. No distress signals, no debris, just gone. The holographic map updated. Red markers indicated systems recently attacked. Blue markers showed refugee movement. And the massive black wedge representing Kralmor territory continued to grow, consuming everything in its path. They won't stop, J-Hook whispered to himself. His fingers tapped a complex sequence on the console, pulling up more detailed scans. The Kralmor weren't just conquering. They were systematically removing any potential future threat. Each civilization they encountered was studied, analyzed, and then utterly destroyed. Most species would have surrendered. Most would have hidden. But something was brewing. A whisper. A rumor. Something about humans. A species most galactic powers considered primitive and insignificant was beginning to catch the attention of refugee intelligence networks. J-Hook zoomed in on a small blue planet in a forgotten sector. Earth. A world that most considered too young, too divided to matter in the grand galactic stage. Little did the Kralmor know what was coming. The conference room was cold, not just in temperature, but in atmosphere. Commander Sungmin stood at the head of the table, his hands clasped behind his back, facing a group of tired, defeated-looking military leaders. Earth had been through hell. 30 years of climate disasters, global conflicts, and near-total economic collapse had pushed humanity to the brink. The world had almost torn itself apart. Entire coastal cities were underwater. Massive population shifts had created tensions that seemed impossible to resolve. For decades, humans had been too busy fighting themselves to look up at the stars. "We are being watched," Sungmin said quietly. The room fell silent. Admiral Park leaned forward, her cybernetic eye flickering. "Watched by what? We can barely manage our own planet. Who would waste time observing us?" Some men activated a holographic display. Star charts, intercepted alien communications, and fragmented data streams flickered to life. The galaxy is not empty, and we are not as alone as we thought. The other commanders exchanged uncomfortable glances. Humanity had always suspected alien life existed, but official contact had never happened. Most believed humans were too primitive, too fractured to be of any interest to advanced civilizations. "The refugee networks are talking," Sungmin continued. "They've noticed something about Earth. Our ability to adapt. Our technology may look primitive, but our problem-solving is unlike anything they've seen." A younger officer, Major Kim, spoke up. "Are you suggesting we have a chance against these Kralmor?" They've destroyed civilizations with thousands of years of technological advancement. Sung Min's lips curled into a slight smile. Exactly. Those civilizations followed expected patterns, predictable strategies. Humans, we don't follow rules. We break them. The room buzzed with nervous energy. Earth had spent decades recovering from near extinction. Climate change, resource wars, and technological disruptions had nearly destroyed human civilization. But something had emerged from that chaos. A resilience, an unpredictability that might be humanity's greatest weapon. We need a plan, Admiral Park said. Not just survival. Something that shows the galaxy we're more than just another species waiting to be conquered. Sung Min pulled up a detailed schematic. It showed a warship unlike anything humans had previously designed. Sleek, adaptive, almost alive in its potential. I have a proposal, he said. One ship, one mission. A message to the entire galaxy. The room held its breath. Humanity was about to make its first real move on the galactic stage. And no one, not even the humans, knew exactly what would happen next. The room was silent except for the soft hum of holographic projections. Commander Sung Min's finger traced a line across the star map, stopping at a point that seemed impossibly small against the vast darkness of space. One ship, he repeated. The HFY Defiance. The gathered experts looked skeptical. Dr. Yoon, the chief technology advisor, leaned forward. Her augmented reality glasses reflected the complex schematics of the proposed warship. This is madness, she said bluntly. We're talking about sending a single vessel against an enemy that has destroyed entire civilizations. Sung Min didn't flinch. The ship's design was unlike anything in human or alien records. Its hull was composed of adaptive quantum-reactive materials that could literally reshape themselves during combat. Standard warship designs were rigid. This was something else entirely. Our strength is not in traditional power, Sung Min explained. It's in our ability to adapt, to change, to solve problems in ways no one expects. The hologram shifted. It showed detailed views of the Defiance's key technologies. Quantum adaptive shielding that could read and counter incoming weapon frequencies in microseconds. Weapon systems that could reconfigure mid-battle. And AI integration so deep that the ship was more of a living organism than a machine. A representative from the Galactic Refugee Council looked horrified. You're suggesting one human ship can make a difference. The Kralmar have destroyed civilizations with thousands of years of technological advancement. Sung Min smiled. A cold, calculated smile that made everyone in the room uncomfortable. Exactly. Those civilizations fought like everyone expected. Humans don't play by those rules. The ship's specifications were revolutionary. Its power core could generate energy from virtually nothing. Its weapon systems could adapt faster than any known combat algorithm. But more than that, it represented something deeper, human unpredictability. Dr. Yoon pulled up combat simulations. In every single scenario, traditional tactics failed. But the Defiance? It found solutions that defied logic. It changed. It adapted. It survived. We're not just sending a ship, Sung Min said quietly. We're sending a message to the entire galaxy. Humanity is not what you think we are. The room fell silent. Outside the window, Earth continued its slow recovery. Damaged, scared, but unbroken. One ship would change everything. The training facility was unlike any military base in human history. Massive holographic simulations surrounded the crew of the HFY Defiance, testing every possible scenario of space combat, alien interaction, and survival. Captain Jae-hook watched his team carefully. Each member had been chosen not just for their skills, but for their ability to think differently. To break rules, to survive. First Officer Hai Jin moved like a shadow through the combat simulations. Her tactical mind was a weapon itself. Scenarios that would break most commanders seemed like puzzles to her. One moment she was defending, the next attacking from an angle no one expected. Chief Engineer Seok-woo stood at his console, fingers dancing across holographic displays. He wasn't just maintaining systems, he was understanding them, breathing life into machinery that seemed more alive with each passing moment. His hands could rebuild a quantum drive faster than most could read a manual. Simulation complete, the AI coordinator Minky announced. Her voice was calm, almost musical, but everyone knew the AI was analyzing every microsecond of their performance, calculating, predicting. The crew gathered for their final briefing. The weight of their mission hung in the air. They weren't just a military team. They were humanity's first real message to the galaxy. J-Huck looked at each of them. "We're not just fighting," he said quietly. "We're proving something." Outside the training facility, families waited. Some knew their loved ones might never return. Others felt something different, a sense of hope, of possibility. The departure ceremony was simple. No grand speeches, no massive crowds. Just a quiet understanding that something important was about to happen. The UES Defiance sat on its launch platform. It didn't look like a traditional warship. Its lines were smooth, almost organic, adaptive, ready to become whatever it needed to be. Seokwu ran final system checks. Hai-Jin reviewed tactical protocols. Min-Ki integrated the ship's systems into a single living network. Launch sequence initiated. Min-Ki's voice echoed through the ship. J-Huck sat in the captain's chair. His hand touched the activation panel. One touch would send them into the unknown. One mission to change everything. The ship hummed, alive, waiting. Humanity's first real message to the galaxy was about to be sent. Space was never truly empty. The UES Defiance knew this better than any ship before it. Kralamore Battle Group detected, Min-Ki announced. Her voice was calm, almost bored. 3 heavy cruisers, 2 support vessels. Typical attack formation. Captain J-Huck didn't move. His eyes were locked on the holographic display. The Kralamore ships looked like metal nightmares, all sharp edges and weapon ports. Each was larger than the Defiance. Each had destroyed entire civilizations. Hai-Jin's hands moved across her tactical console. "Their weapon signatures are charging," she said. "Standard suppression pattern. They expect us to run." Seokwu chuckled, a sound that surprised even himself. "We're not running today." The first plasma burst came faster than human reflexes could normally track. But the Defiance was not a normal ship. Its quantum-adaptive shields flickered, not blocking, but absorbing, analyzing. The energy of the weapon was instantly understood, then redirected. "Returning fire," Hai-Jin said, but it wasn't a normal return fire. The Defiance's weapons twisted, split, became something the Kralamore sensors couldn't understand. One Kralamore cruiser suddenly lost power. Not destroyed, just disabled. Its systems confused by energy patterns that made no sense. "They're adapting," Min-Ki reported, but slower than expected. J-Huck watched the battle like a chess player, each movement calculated, each response a puzzle being solved in real time. The Kralamore fought with perfect technology. Humans fought with something else. Creativity. Unpredictability. Another plasma burst. Another redirection. The Defiance moved like no ship in galactic history. Not dodging. Not blocking. Changing. Becoming something the enemy couldn't predict. 2 support vessels neutralize, Hai-Jin reported. Her voice held no excitement. Just pure, cold efficiency. Seokwu was already reconfiguring shield harmonics. "We're learning," he muttered, "and they don't know how to learn back." The second Kralamore cruiser began to break apart, not from direct weapon hits, but from its own systems becoming confused. Its perfect technology suddenly faced something it couldn't calculate. J-Huck allowed himself a small smile. "Send a message," he said quietly, "to anyone who might be listening." Min-Ki understood immediately. The tight beam communication went out. Simple, direct. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. News traveled fast in the galaxy. Faster than light, faster than weapons, faster than hope. The story of this single human ship spread through refugee communication networks like wildfire. Small species, scattered populations, those who had lost everything began to whisper. "Did you hear?" A Xanthari refugee told another in a distant space station. One ship, just one human ship, disabled an entire Kralmor battle group. The Kralmor knew something was wrong. Their perfect systems were no longer perfect. Intelligence reports began to show strange patterns. Unpredictability. Something they had never experienced before. On the bridge of the UES Defiance, Captain J. Hook understood psychological warfare better than most. This wasn't just about destroying ships. This was about sending a message. "Min Ki," he called. "Broadcast our encounter data. Moon encrypted. Let everyone see." The AI understood immediately. The battle records were released, not just to human networks, but to everyone. Every species, every refugee group, every civilization that had been pushed to the edge of extinction. Hai Jin studied the tactical displays. "They're confused," she reported. "The Kralmor communication networks are trying to understand our tactics, but they can't." Siokwu was already working on the ship's systems. Each battle made the Defiance stronger, more adaptive. The ship was learning faster than its creators had ever imagined. In the deeper parts of Kralmor space, military commanders began to worry. One ship had done what entire fleets could not. It wasn't just about technology. It was about something else, something they couldn't calculate. Refugee species began to change. Small acts of resistance appeared. A transport ship that used an unexpected navigation route. A mining colony that defended itself in a way no one predicted. The humans had shown something important. You didn't have to be the biggest to fight back. "We're becoming a symbol," J. Hook said quietly. "Not a weapon, not a ship, a message." Min Ki processed the communication networks. Thousands of messages, hundreds of languages, but they all said the same thing. Hope was not dead. The Kralmor had terrorized the galaxy for generations. They believed in perfect systems, perfect control, perfect prediction. They had never met humans before, and everything was about to change. The Keros Nebula burned with the light of 1,000 dying stars, and at its center, the UES Defiance waited. Kralmor ships filled the space around them, hundreds of vessels. A fleet so massive it could crush entire civilizations with a single coordinated strike. Their weapons charge, their systems perfectly aligned, their confidence absolute. "They're coming," Hai Jin said. Not a warning, just a fact. Captain J. Hook watched the incoming wave. Every other species would have surrendered, would have run, would have accepted defeat. Humans were different. "Min Ki," he called. Full system integration. The ship came alive. Not like a machine, like a living thing. Its hull began to shift. Quantum adaptive materials changed color, changed shape, becoming something the Kralmor scanners couldn't understand. The first wave of attacks came. Plasma weapons that could melt planetary crusts. Energy beams that could slice through reinforced starship hulls. The Defiance didn't dodge. It didn't block. It absorbed. "Weapon systems reconfiguring," Siokwu reported. His fingers danced across holographic displays. The ship was learning, changing, becoming something new with each passing second. One Kralmor battleship suddenly went dark. Then another. Not destroyed. Just confused. Its perfect systems couldn't understand what was happening. "They're trying to predict our movements," Hai Jin said. "But we don't have movements. We have possibilities." The battle wasn't about firepower. It was about something else. Creativity. Unpredictability. The ability to change faster than any computer could calculate. Kralmor commanders watched in horror. Their perfect strategies were falling apart. One human ship was doing what entire galactic alliances had failed to do for generations. Redirecting enemy weapon signatures, Min Ki announced. The Kralmor ships began to fire on each other. Not because of external control, but because their own systems were now impossibly confused. Jae-hyuk watched the chaos. "We're not just fighting," he said quietly. "We're showing them something they've never seen before." The Keros Nebula became a graveyard of Kralmor technology. Hundreds of ships, reduced to the floating debris by a single human vessel. Something fundamental had changed in the galaxy, and humanity had just announced its arrival. The communication networks exploded with news, not just reports, not just data, but something deeper, a story that would change everything. One human ship had broken the Kralmor, not through overwhelming force, but through something no one expected. Refugee species gathered in communication hubs across the galaxy. Zinthari, Corella, dozens of civilizations that had been pushed to the edge of extinction. They watched, they listened, they understood something important. On Earth, the military command center was silent. Commander Sungmin watched the incoming reports with a calm that surprised even himself. The Defiance had done more than win a battle. It had rewritten the rules of galactic conflict. "They're analyzing our technology," Dr. Yoon said, studying the incoming data streams. "But they don't understand what they're seeing." The Defiance's systems were unlike anything in galactic history, not just advanced, alive, adaptive, a living weapon that learned faster than any artificial intelligence ever created. Kralmor communication networks began to break down. Their perfect systems couldn't understand what had happened. How could a single ship do what entire fleets could not? How could something so small create such massive chaos? Captain Jae-hyuk understood the deeper message. This wasn't just about winning a battle. This was about showing the galaxy something fundamental about humanity. "We don't follow rules," he told his crew. "We break them." Refugee species began to change. Small acts of resistance appeared everywhere. A transport ship that used an unexpected navigation route. A mining colony that defended itself in a way no one predicted. The galactic political landscape shifted, overnight, completely. Kralmor leadership began to panic. Their perfect systems, their generations of conquest, destroyed by a single ship, by a species most considered primitive. "Humanity is not what you think we are," Sungmin had said. Now the entire galaxy understood. Political leaders from different species began to reach out, not with fear, but with a new emotion: respect, curiosity, the possibility of something different. The Defiance had done more than win a battle. It had opened a door, a possibility, a new way of thinking about survival, about conflict, about hope. The galaxy would never be the same, and it all started with a single ship. 5 years after the Defiance's mission, Earth looked different. No longer a planet struggling to survive. Now a center of galactic attention. Alien ships filled Earth's orbit, not as invaders, but as visitors, partners, learners. The planet that had once been considered a backwater now became the most interesting place in the known galaxy. Captain Jae-hyuk stood on the observation deck of the new human space station. Around him, representatives from dozens of alien species worked together, something that would have been impossible just years before. "We didn't just fight," he told a young Zinthari diplomat. "We showed everyone a different way." The technology developed from the Defiance's mission changed everything. Adaptive systems, learning algorithms, ways of thinking that broke every previous galactic rule. Refugee species that had been hiding for generations now began to rebuild, to hope. Commander Sungmin, now head of Earth's Galactic Integration Council, reviewed the latest reports. The Kralmor were not destroyed, but they were changed, transformed, no longer conquerors, now forced to understand that perfection was not about control, but about adaptation. Hai-Jin trained the first multi-species tactical academy. Her classes were not about weapons, but about thinking differently, about seeing possibilities where others saw only obstacles. Sieku's engineering teams developed technologies that made the old galactic powers look like children playing with simple machines, ships that could heal themselves, communication systems that could understand languages before they were spoken. Minki, the AI that had been part of the Defiance, now helped manage entire planetary networks, not as a controller, but as a partner, learning, growing, changing. The galaxy had a new story, not about conquest, but about possibility. Earth had sent one ship, just one, and everything changed. Alien species gathered in human research centers. They studied. They learned. They understood that humanity's greatest weapon was not technology. It was something else. The ability to look at a problem and see not just a challenge, but an opportunity. We're not special, Jayhook would often say. We're just different. And in the vastness of space, that difference was everything. The human era had begun.